Minnesota Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips joins me. Good evening, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
You know, we're so tough on politics and we're mean and nasty and rough and tumble, but this is a very different night. Whether, you know, we're gonna listen to our president tell something I think probably very personal.
And we're all human. And I think so many watching right now have probably had a family member or a mother, father, grandparent aging and having to have those tough conversations, not usually with our president. And, you know, he did the right thing. But we all know how rare it is in human history, let alone American history, for people to give up power willingly. You know, George Washington did it. It was the first time, I think, in history that someone gave up their commission when they had accrued so much power. So it's an unusual night, and I just hope everybody watching, no matter what you think of both of these guys, you know, they're humans, they're fathers, they're husbands, and it's not an easy task, and it's an opportunity for us to all reflect on the presidency, not the red or the blue elements.
You know, I agree. I mean, President Trump, you know, I've interviewed him a zillion times because he used to be my business expert when at my prior network. So I've interviewed, and we oftentimes don't see the human side of these people. I mean, you see them on the television, you have some certain impression where you don't like their policies or whatever, or, you know, but, you know, there's such a human side to every one of them.
And just to talk about that, I've seen, frankly, the human side of both of these men. With Donald Trump in the Situation Room in the White House, I saw it. I'm a Democrat. I was never a big fan of his administration, but I have to say, I tell my Democratic colleagues all the time what I saw that day. And with Joe Biden, this is a man who's been in my house before, so kind and so compassionate. I've flown on Air Force One with him where he called my mother to say hello. He did a video for my daughter. And then when I even gave up my campaign in the Democratic primary, he called me very graciously and then called both of my daughters to say nice things about me. These are the untold stories and that none of us get to see. And I just wish all of America, red and blue, would have a chance to just sit back and realize these are human beings, and we'd be better for it.
This has been so painful, though, because he was pushed out. I mean, this does not seem to be his decision. And one of the things that's bothered me as a journalist is that he has not been particularly transparent. We've not had access to him, so we've never been certain as to, you know, how he is.
And Greta, that was my message over a year ago. July of 2022, I said he shouldn't run again. He declared his candidacy in April of 23. That summer, I called publicly for others to join the primary. I made private calls to some governors to jump in. And I called on my party to host a legitimate, open primary, to promote candidates, not suppress them. That was my way of trying to do this sooner. I knew this was a conversation we were going to have at some point. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when. So it saddens me that it took this long in this fashion, especially a man, no matter your politics, he served the country beautifully, I think, for 50 years. And it's kind of a sad way to end one's tenure. And I hope tonight we all take a moment and reflect on that.
The Democratic Party, though, I mean, it doesn't particularly have rules, apparently, on selecting the nominee now. And, of course, you ran, and what I've said tonight on the air is that you actually have delegates. You were voted for in the primary. Vice President Kamala Harris wasn't in the primary. She has you have more delegates than she has.
I do. I have 5 delegates. Of course, the president had thousands. I wouldn't say it was very close. Of course, she was on the ticket. And what you just said, though, I do want to reflect on. The fact of the matter is our two parties are private corporations. I don't think most Americans realize they do not answer to we voters. They answer to their officers, the de facto leaders of each party, of course, in this case, former President Trump, current President Biden, the chairman and CEO. They can do what they want, Greta. And if anything, after this election, I intend to dedicate some time to both learning about how this works, why it doesn't work so well, and at least shining some light on the truth, because the fact of the matter is, no matter what the rules are, they can change them at the moment's notice, and they do regularly.
You know, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes every night. I mean, many of us wondered, you know, what is the family saying to him? And you know, I just couldn't figure out why he stayed in so long, because that debate was quite an eye-opener for a lot of people.
And it was, again, my intention was to have that debate, at least in a primary setting, many, many months before. I'd seen that decline. My colleagues had seen that decline.
Why didn't anybody speak up, though? Because we didn't have access to him.
Well, I'll be forthright. First, I saw this disease, the culture of silence, the disease of silence. I saw it first amongst my Republican colleagues during Trump's presidency. Many of them would excoriate him privately and then get in front of the cameras and just count the blessings and tell people how much they loved him and supported him. And then I saw the same thing on my side, where people would express concern about his abilities and his decline privately and then get in front of the cameras and say everything's fine. But that's part of the reward system in Congress. We are rewarded for being cowards and punished for being courageous. And that's how this game works. You want to keep your seat, you want to ascend the leadership ladder, you want to run for Senate or president someday, you got to play the game. You got to stay in line, you got to be part of the team. That's not what this entire country was founded on. It's just the opposite.
Well, there are two questions tonight, is whether he stays in the race, but also whether he should remain as president. And we don't have the answer to that. And you know, we do have men and women all over the world serving in uniform. And if he should get out now, you know, who tells him? And how do we know?
Well, let me say this, Greta. I ran against him because I saw the decline. I did not think he would be in a position to serve ably for another term. But I will say this, I have not seen evidence of a cognitive impairment. I've seen his gait change. I've seen his ability to communicate decline, clearly not able to do so like he used to be. If I'd seen any semblance of someone who I thought was unable to prosecute the job of president, believe me, if anybody on my side of the aisle would say something, it would be me. I've not seen that. And if I do, I will. His term ends in 6 months. I do not expect him to stand down from the office. And frankly, I have not seen any evidence as to why he should. But we'll watch tonight. And I think he will make, hopefully, a compelling and thoughtful address, end his term in 6 months. And we're going to have a heck of an election here in November.
We are going to have a heck of an election. Congressman Dean Phillips from the great state of Minnesota, thank you, sir.
Anytime, Greta.